Okay, guys, thanks for joining. Let's see if I can get my share up. Okay. All right, everything okay on my share, guys?
Good. Yep.
All right, cool. George, Andrew, ready to go?
All good.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So welcome everyone. It's Friday the 16th of October. It's 3 p.m. and what does that mean? That means Qlik Virtual Meetup Scotland. We are very, very happy to be here for episode 12 and the Good Health to All edition of Qlik Virtual Meetup Scotland. And for a few reasons, this one's a bit different. First of all, we have three presenters, which we're very excited to talk to you about. But we also have a couple of other things that we want to cover off today as well. It's a pretty difficult topic to head into, so I'm just going to put it out there just now. I'm going to hand over to a few of my colleagues, but not so long ago we lost a great colleague and a great friend of ours, David Bolton, who was very close to a lot of people in the Qlik ecosystem. I didn't know David as well as some people on this call, but I'd like to sort of pass over to Andrew in the first instance, and then George and Josh after that, just to say a few words, because I know they were very close to David. So Andrew, I'll pass over to you.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Obviously very sad news when we heard it earlier in the week. My interactions with David were purely at Connections last year, where I'd actually been exploring a career in Qlik at the time, and David offered to help me out with some advice, and that advice turned into about 90 minutes sitting in the coffee shop at the Gaylord Hotel, and that was pretty superb of the guy, because he didn't know me at that time, and also it was a very busy conference. My memories of David were he was always happy, he was always smiling as he is in the picture. He was always ready to help people, not just myself, but everybody he met. And the thing that I remember as well, and that's all now put into context of the messages I've seen this week, every single person that walked past the table we were sitting at stopped to shake his hand and say hello to him. He seemed to know everybody in the hotel, or everybody knew him. It was just like an awesome sort of experience to be sitting with him and just experiencing that. And it's quite a sad thing, even just from my experience. So I'll pass over to George, because I know George has known David for a lot longer than I have.
Yeah, so I actually written down a few notes here just to keep me on topic, because I could go on for a long time, and also it's quite emotional. It came as a huge shock. I first met David in 2010 while I was in the brand new role of head of BI at the University of St Andrews. And I think QlikView 8 had just been released, and business intelligence was a pretty new discipline in the world. I think David and I were both passionate about how business intelligence was going to change the world, and so he never had to ask me twice for me to join him at events around the country promoting the data revolution that we were riding at the time. My career took me from higher education into freelance consultancy, and David helped me get my first consultancy position in Qlik's professional services team. He stayed there with me as a guiding light, a friendly face at the conferences, and a sounding board for whatever idea or opportunity I was currently working on. And I think it was around a year ago that we last met face-to-face in London for the last time, where we spoke about the various problems and opportunities facing the healthcare world and what was happening in the world of professional services. We were both pretty sure we'd meet up again at the next Connections in Arizona, but obviously COVID had different plans for us. So David, you've been a guiding light throughout my entire analytics career, a constant and above all a friend, and you'll be sorely missed. Godspeed.
Yeah, so I guess this is Josh. I'll wrap it up. I've been fortunate that I worked with David. I've been with Qlik for almost 10 years, and he was with us for almost that whole time, if not all that whole time that I was here. I think much more elegant speakers than I have. One thing though is as the technology vendor person, coming from Qlik, David was the conscience of the company a lot of times, of always saying, yeah, that's great, we have cool tech, but what's our value? What's the value? And he was always thinking about what value we offer, and I saw that not only in the way he talked about the business side, but also in the value he was wanting to offer to individuals, in the way he spoke about his family and his passions, and one of his passions of flying. And I think that's something for me that'll always stick with me is it was that the interaction, was the time I spent with whoever I'm spending time with. How did I make their life, or their challenges a little easier, their lives a little better. And so that's something that I think I'll always take with me, that from the pleasure and the frankly fortunate luck I have had to spend a fair bit of time with him and many events and many dinners and places like that as we traveled around the world. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Josh.
Okay,
Was Joe do something quickly as well? Joe, are you there?
I'm not sure I have too much to say. It's really tough, actually. He was a great friend and my boss. I was very fortunate. Like Andrew said, sometimes I would have these meetings with him and everybody around us would know him, and I think, yeah, people are like, oh, it's so fun to work with David, right? He's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's great. I never really knew the impact that he had on so many people. So yeah, he's sorely missed. We spent the last few days chatting with a bunch of people about the stories of, on the road with him, the fun times and the passion that he brought to the role. So thank you so much for sharing this and taking some time out to remember David.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to all of you guys, and it's a really hard time for everyone, but I think I speak for us all when we offered out our sympathies and our best wishes to David's family. He was a big part of all of our lives in different ways. So David, rest in peace. It feels quite hard to move on from that, but I think that's what David would have wanted us to do, and trying to get myself back aligned now. I want to talk a little bit about the great people that we happen to have with us today. We've got three terrific speakers, and I guess the headline of good health to all really held a poignant note for me when I reread it after finding out about David. So, but to move on to today, we've got two great speakers. We've kind of got a joint presentation to start off with from Rob O'Neill and Jenni Woods, who are both heavily involved in the NHS and Qlik within the NHS. Rob's done some amazing work with the Qlik Command Centre down there at Morecambe Bay, and Jenni Woods, another. We're always proud to have more Scots on our show, and Jenni is at NHS Tayside and has been doing a lot of reporting and analytics work, especially around COVID there. So we're really looking forward to hearing what the journeys that Rob and Jenni have been on, and how they can intertwine together, and you'll get a chance to ask them about that as well. And as you've heard from already, Josh Good, another good friend of the show, is on for us this time. We had a sort of cancelled miscommunication when Josh was on the last time, so we're really pleased to get him back to talk about the Qlik roadmap and his top whatever favourite things are on his mind at the moment. So it's great to have you here, Josh, as well. And then just a little bit about our next meetup, and then we'll let you all go and resume the rest of your Fridays, and hopefully go and have a great weekend afterwards. So you've actually heard us all already. If you're a regular with the show, we won't be new to you, but my name's Brian Booden. I've been a luminary for the last few years. I'm the managing director at DataGlow IT, and it's been an absolute joy to work with my colleagues Andrew and George on this journey. Episode 12. Just outstanding job all round. I'll just pass it over to George. Nothing more to say than what I've said from the previous weeks. It's been great, guys. I've loved doing it with you. So
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, my name's George Beaton. I'm a Qlik luminary above everything, and a senior director at FTI Consulting. My Qlik career goes back, I think I mentioned, all the way back to 2010, which makes me feel particularly old. But my passion very much is data and analytics, and hopefully that will come across today. It's fantastic to have episodes, so many episodes actually, we're losing count. I was going back through the number of people that we've had presenting on here, such a fantastic lineup, and it just keeps getting better as well. So thoroughly looking forward to the session today, and hearing what's new in the NHS and also what's new in Qlik from Josh later in the session. Thank you. Over to you, Andrew, before I bore any more with my voice.
Okay, thanks, George. It's obviously been a hard time today. I'm Andrew McElwright, or Qlik Luminary as well. I work for Differentia Consulting, a UK-based Qlik partner. Obviously here to help out with George and Brian in our journey in these virtual meetups. Hopefully sometime we'll be having a physical one with some beers and pizza again, but we're hopefully going to also hear about how COVID's getting managed in the NHS. This should be very interesting as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing the three presenters as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, guys. Hopefully someday that we can all be in the same room again and run these for real. I hope it's sometime soon. But this has been great, and long may it continue while we're in this position anyway. So episode 12 we're at now, episode 11. So we've moved back to 3 weeks now that people are starting to resume back in the office a little bit. But episode 11, two incredible ladies on the call. Kate Strachny, who was talking about visualization best practice, and the Datacated conference, which is not too far away now. I think we're about a month away from that. So it was great to have Kate on. A lot of discussion, a lot of very, very good and intentionally very bad examples of data visualization. So it's great stuff to see Kate there. We've also got Julie Kay, or we had Julie Kay from Qlik Corporate Social Responsibility, and she was telling us a lot about the latest with COP26, which has belatedly been rescheduled for Glasgow next year. So there is still a hope that we will all get to meet together and do all the things we were so hopeful to be able to do this year. But again, another fantastic episode, lots of great content and debate in there as well. And if you want to have a look at that episode and you didn't get a chance before, it's we're always tiny.cc and we're QVMS EP11 rec for the last episode. So I don't think we have any of our luminary representatives on the call today. I think Carolyn had to dip off early, but again, just a shout out to them for everything that they've done for us. As Andrew and George mentioned, we're all part of the Meetup and Luminary programs, and without Carolyn and Gillian and Shelley, we wouldn't be here. They've been incredibly supportive, providing us with the tech and the platforms, the physical platform and the metaphorical platform as well, to be able to do what we do here, and we love doing it. So a debt of gratitude as always to Carolyn, Gillian, Shelley and everyone else that works with the Luminary and Meetup programs. So this is a bit of a moment where there's a not so deliberate mistake here, but I'm really sorry guys, on my next slide I've just realized that I've not taken Kate's logo off. So I am sorry that you're obviously not Story by Data, but you are very, very important. And to kick us off on this episode, we've got Rob O'Neill and Jenny Woods. Rob representing the University Hospitals of Morecambe Bay, and Jenny from NHS Tayside, and they've got a few different slants about things that are happening in the NHS, which you might say are stories by data. So there you go. That's my attempt to cover my tracks. But with that fumble, I will pass over to Rob in the first instance, I think, and you'll kick us off, Rob. Really looking forward to see what you've got going on here. So I'll pass it over to you.
Perfect. Well recovered, Brian.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, I'll share my screen. Well, thank you, firstly, for having me here today. Jenny and I are going to do a sort of a joint presentation. I'll kick off. I've got a few slides to talk through. I'll tell you a bit about, I think, sort of my personal ambition around healthcare and use analytics and AI and the need to expedite that, and then a bit of detail around what we're doing at Morecambe Bay hospitals, and I was going to refocus on just as a use case, integrating data robots and Qlik Sense, which we're having good success with. I think hopefully it's applicable to people on the call today, and then I hand off to Jenni. So you can see everyone. Let me just move that. Got it. So yeah, I mean, we so to start with, yeah, you've already mentioned, Brian, our Qlik Analytical Command Centre for healthcare. It's been a really great bit of work to be involved in, and we're going to kind of base the presentations day around that, but kind of slant it towards our organisation's viewpoints, and focus on COVID. It's so topical in healthcare at the moment. It's going to become, it's the numbers are ramping up. They're certainly ramping up around where I live, and I suspect in that central belt in Scotland, you're kind of in the same position. So the Analytical Command Centre, it was developed by myself and team within UHMB late 2018, but it's been a story collaboration, and I think that's that's what's special about it. It was commercialised by Catalyst IT. I think we've got Barney from Catalyst on the call today, and then implemented and refined by Jenni and the NHS Data team. That started the journey for us when COVID hit in March. Through Catalyst, the command centre was deployed within 7 London hospitals, including the NHS Nightingale Hospital, directly in response to COVID. We've got some additional modules, excuse me, that are live. Sorry. We've got additional modules which are live, and I know Jenni's going to talk through some of the developments that she's been making. And as I've said, there's been massive interest in the command centre, global interest. I spent a lot of time talking to people, not just within the NHS, but within Europe, North America, Australasia. It's humbling, actually. It's a real success story. So I think for us, our slides, we're going to talk about 2 different health systems, story collaboration, and innovation. And I'll start by having a look at the command centre, and particularly how we're using data robots. I just wanted to start with some thoughts, and kind of I guess we're all patients, we're all citizens, and it's from someone who works in the healthcare industry, but also in the analytics and data industry. It's I guess I kind of come at it with 2 hats. As a professional in terms of my career, healthcare and data, but also we're all users of healthcare systems in some way. And I think in terms of setting the context for what drives us collectively to seek to improve healthcare is that it's a global challenge, and I'm not going to read through this list of things, but we've got a global challenge. We've got shifting demographics, shifting populations. We've got a pandemic that's happening now that's completely changed the priorities for healthcare, and that's going to have some massive ramifications in the future for population health, and for just healthcare as we had come to expect it to be delivered. There are backlogs for elective surgery, critical surgery, cancer treatments. Things have changed massively, and I think we've got a real opportunity as analytics and data professionals to support that change. There's a big problem or big mismatch between capacity and demand in a lot of healthcare systems, and it was really that made us come up with the idea of how do we best expose that, how do we best use data and technology to improve an organisation's resilience, reaction, to be able to manage the flow of patients through it. So that was where I wanted to start. It was for me, it was really a vision to use live and predictive analytics to underpin organisational transformation. It's really that we want to harvest data in real time. We want to integrate it, predict with it, and then represent it in a way to users that means that they can both derive insights but take action as a result of it. And that's really, I hope, encapsulates what we're trying to do. The kind of mandate of influencing the future is something that's really important for me, and that's what we're increasingly trying to do with it. So how could we build AI capability, machine learning into this type of solution to more accurately predict what the future will be, and then let our health services prepare for that event. I think it's worth, in terms of thinking about Qlik Sense as a platform, we've created a physical space, and that works. I think there's something very special about large-scale analytics and people, and it's socially distanced people at the moment, that leads to creativity. But I think Qlik Sense, mobile, alerting, they've all been really, really important for us as we've changed how we deliver services, changed how we deliver analytics and BI support over the past 6 months or so. So it is a physical space, but it's also a virtual solution that's designed to empower staff. Within the command center, currently there are 74 live metrics, and they cover the range of emergency care within a healthcare system. So that's from ambulances who are transporting patients into a hospital site, and what's happening within the emergency department or room for your North American colleagues. Inpatients, so patients who are admitted physically into a ward. Bed state, really important for us. It was the fulcrum point for moving as a hospital into a fully live and electronic bed state. And for people who work outside of healthcare, that probably doesn't sound that such a big deal, but it's a really big deal. And the as a tool, not that many hospitals can really say they have a fully live bed state. And as a tool, this really helped us tip the balance. It's got patients who's discharging, who's blocked for discharge. What medication are people on? What medication do people need prior to discharge? Is there a blocker? COVID-19, obviously, we've injected some analytics into the command centre around which patients are possibly COVID positive, waiting for a screening result. What's the status of that screening result? Which patients are positive? Where are they? What type of ward are they on? And finally, a sort of executive focus helicopter view. So I just want to talk a little bit about data robots and why, and the success story for me and the potential, for me across healthcare and other industries. I think this slide kind of sums up really well. This is taken from, I'm not sure if anyone's read, if you work in healthcare, the WISH report, or a report from the WISH conference around AI uptake in healthcare. But you can sort of see here, this is an assessment at the end of 2018, healthcare is really lagging behind other industries in terms of AI adoption and utilization. There's a massive gap, and it's a good opportunity to address that, but also healthcare needs to wake up, and we need to do collectively what we can do to accelerate that AI adoption journey. So why data robot for us? For me, it's around expediting predictions, expediting machine learning. It's I don't think I'm alone in terms of it's really hard to recruit data scientists into the public sector. The pay is not great, and sometimes the locations aren't great. So as a platform that allows us to augment our really bright analysts, augment our data scientists who do have, and I have a data science team, but as a way of giving them a way of working at speed, it's really helped us. I think there's the whole concept of a platform like Data Robot acting as a guardrail. So I think a lot of organisations have the guy who sits in the corner who is traditionally probably worked in a BI role, may well now work in a data science role, will tell me I can build it, leave it to me, I'll build it myself. That really worries me from a strategic perspective. So I think it's a platform which we can manage the delivery of machine learning and AI projects through. The Qlik Sense integration has been really important, and I'm going to talk through some of that today. That was key. Qlik Sense is our delivery suite, and we have mission critical apps within there, and we need a solution for machine learning that can integrate fully with it. I won't linger on this. I'm sort of conscious of time, but the demo I'm going to give you around integrating a data robot model within Qlik Sense, within the command center, is focused on predicting urgent care demand. So we're looking at predicting how many patients will attend the hospital on an hour-by-hour basis into the future. And we put a range of variables into the model. So that is, frequency of attendance type, what's the weather like when they attend, what's the moon phase, believe it or not, when they attend, what's the bed occupancy in hospital. A lot of data goes into there, and then we fully integrate it into the command center app. Right, so this is the command center. Some people recognize the gentleman here interacting with it. I'm going to just jump into Data Robot. I won't stay too long in Data Robot, but Data Robot as an interface, I'm going to look at, I've got a couple of models which are deployed within here, which are looking at urgent care demand. And I'll just have a look at this to sort of give you an idea of it. So this is predicting demand by hour at one of our sites, and I'll just have a look at the original data we fed into it. So yeah, as I say, things like what's the date time, time of the day, is a patient, what categorization is a patient, a bit about weather, wind speed, humidity, visibility, bed occupancy, really important for us as we were going through. We were implementing these models as we went into COVID, and we needed it. We needed to get better at forecasting through COVID. And when COVID hit in March, our emergency department's demand just dropped. It went from being a really, really busy department to nothing. And I think that's replicated globally. And then volumes of activity have gradually returned. So the models need to be able to cope with that. And that's I'll come on to that in terms of recasting, monitoring data drift, and reprocessing models, and some information around bank holidays, public holidays, student holidays, that type of thing. Jump back to the model, back in again, and we can just have a quick look at it. Here it is. So I think, this is a model we're using at the moment, a ridge regressor with forecast distance modeling and series scaling. So we process it, and, important for me to be able to get oversight around exactly what the model is. We can explain it. I won't spend any more time, I don't think, looking at that. So that's Data Robot. So that's running. What we do is we have a three-step process. So we use Data Robot to generate the predicted time series. We then have a staging app within Qlik Sense, which is this app, and we use this to feed data into Data Robot overnight, and to pull back the updated predictions, and then to feed that into a data store. And then finally, we have the command center app, which pulls data and starts visualizing it against the prediction. So very quickly, this is our staging apps. This is showing the blue line is historical attendances. The red line are the predicted attendances as derived by Data Robot last night. It runs every night. I'll just jump into the script to show everyone. So we have a store procedure which is pulled to pull data for the derivation window. And you can see some of those fields here, if you can read them, are the same fields we're looking at, which were in Data Robot's model. Is a patient a major, frequency, temperature, visibility, wind speed, and so on. Then we have a function, and so we that's preparing the data for the API calls overnight. Next are the API calls, and finally we do a bit of transformation. We pull the data back from Data Robot, transform it a bit, and then prepare it and dump it into a QVD, ready for the morning. And then what we do from that is we use the command center to app to pull data from that QVD into the app. So it's a bit out today slightly, but this is showing actual versus predicted attendances at our ED departments. The green line showing actually what's happening. This is live. This is sort of right here, right now within Morecambe Bay, and the grey line showing the Data Robot prediction. And that, on that note, I'm going to stop and hand over to Jenny.
Thanks, Rob. Sorry, I got lost looking at your ED attendances there, thinking, oh, I wonder what's happening. Wonder something's kicking off down there. Thank you very much for passing across there. I just want to say thanks as well to George, Brian and Andrew as well for inviting us along here. And a big thanks to Rob and his team for all the work they've done, because it was seeing all that work on LinkedIn that it's like, oh, we need to get a piece of that up here. We need to be starting to learn from these other organisations and to collaborate. So I'm going to now try and share my screen so I can bring up the slide set again. Okay, so let's see if I can just share that. Oh, gone forward one. Okay, so what I'm going to cover in my slides is a bit of a recap on how we did pick up the Morecambe Bay work that they did on the command centre, how it then links into the NHS and how it specifically links into COVID and our plans for winter. And really how it's been crucial and critical to everything that we've been doing, where we've been, where we're going, how we're going to get there. So that's a picture of our command centre within 9 Wells, and actually we've got multiple command centres now. We've also, within NHS Tayside, we've got 9 Wells Hospital, which has about 800 beds. We've also got Perth Royal Infirmary, which has a further about 300 beds, and it's got its own command centre now. Our chief executive likes it so much, he's got his own little command centre in his room as well. And within Gold Command up on level 10, we've also now got command centre screens in there. So we've gone a bit command centre crazy, which is great. So how did we get there? So we worked, after seeing all the work that they'd done within Morecambe Bay, we worked with Catalyst IT, and like Rob's given a shout out to Barney on the call today as well, the work that they helped us to get it to a position within a really short period of time, from first seeing the command centre on kind of LinkedIn and starting to have the conversations. It was up and running within NHS Tayside within 3 months. The build itself in the background within Qlik Sense and being able to configure it to the way that the pathways work within Tayside took 3 weeks. That was really, really critical for us to be able to configure it so that it does match Tayside's footprint. Rob was very kind to come up and do a presentation for us with our chief exec and our key clinical leads. And straight away, they were interested as part of the digital strategy. So being able to then tailor that to having our acute receiving wards, some of the key measures, the key performance measures that we report on within Scotland are very slightly different to what they are down in England, but it's all locally configurable to be able to pull that information directly from the patient administration system. It loads every 90 seconds. So you can understand exactly what's happening. The ambulance is coming in, the emergency department, you can filter down to specific areas. So like I've said there, we've got a command centre which is in our key hospital, 9 Wells, but we've also got one within Perth Royal Infirmary. But without having to then redesign another dashboard for them or create anything that's bespoke, it just filters to PRI, and that's what the views are within their command centre, which is really critical for us to be able to do that. Some of the feedback that we have received from our senior clinical team, as you can see there from Dougie Loudon, he's a real champion for it. And these are people that we didn't tend to always get in a room with or be able to have a conversation with, but now they're coming to us and they're involving us and really getting us into the conversations. It's really about, so obviously the critical thing for them is to make sure that they can understand patient flow. There's so many unknowns out there, and you think you know pockets of the system, but until you can see via the command centre all of those individual pockets together, it's only then that you really get a feel for what that means and the conversations that need to be had. It starts the conversations with the ambulance service, with the ED consultants and the receiving wards, because everybody then understands the pressures that are across different areas of the system. So from building the initial command centre and getting that released across NHS Tayside to be able to see the position within, so it's a wee quote here from our chief executive, who's all digital. He wants a wee, I shouldn't say this now actually, I've just started saying it. He says he wants a wee command centre outfit for standing up in his little room with all the screens around him in his office. He likes to know what's going on. He likes to know all the different areas. He really wants to understand where the bottlenecks are in the systems. But as he said here, he doesn't just want to know that. He wants to know where are we going and how are we going to get there. How can we anticipate things? We don't want to be learning last minute that something's happening down in ED, or that there's blockages, bed blockers on the increase within one particular council area, for example. He wants us to be able to anticipate that and to be one step ahead. So that's when we started exploring with the command centre and worked with Catalyst IT, who were key and crucial to this. They helped us to show how easy it was to then embed R within the command centre to do a few predictions. So there are a couple of predictions that we do within the command centre. It has a look at, as a patient then presents into the emergency department, how likely are they to become an emergency admission? And that's within the kind of first 15 minutes of them being triaged. So how likely are we going to need a bed downstream, and how can we then be planning for that now? The other area is how likely is a patient following an admission likely to become a bed blocker. So based on postcode, based on age, based on demographics, it then helps you to really understand what that patient's pathway could look like and what the flow is going to be, and other earlier conversations that we can be having within that patient's pathway to help supported discharge for that patient. That was a really positive one for our stroke ward, and really being able to identify who the patients are. So my Scottish colleagues will appreciate when I say that we have a slight difficulty within Tayside with 5 patients, for example, and trying to move them through the kind of Tayside system. Nine Wells is a lovely hospital, so trying to move patients through can sometimes become a bit of an issue, but this helps start those conversations a lot earlier in the process. COVID, so then COVID hits, and yeah, everything kind of went to pot slightly, and the command centre all of a sudden became the COVID command centre. We were really needing to understand the position of the COVID patients, understand the demand, understand the capacity, and understand what these journeys looked like within the hospital. So again, as I've said, with the command centre being locally configurable, I mean, I've only got 2 QlikView developers. It's not like I've got a whole office or anything, but it's so quick and so easy to actually develop within there. So within 3 days, we'd had our, COVID command centre, and the position I'm presenting there is quite a nice one because that's the current position. It's not ideal, obviously. What it's showing there is we've got 15 COVID positive patients within Nine Wells just now, but that's a lot less compared to where we are during the height of the pandemic, and it will be interesting to see how that then progresses going through winter. But what it does is there's lots of the key performance indicators that are visible together within there. So rather than just looking at, well, what's our COVID position? The COVID command centre allows us to look at our COVID position, but it also monitors our ED performance, which, pleased to say, is 100% within that snapshot I took there as well. It also shows what we call delayed discharges up here, which is your bed blockers. It shows where your empty beds are. It also shows how many non-COVID patients are in the hospital. We have green pathways within there. And it also shows the total volume of emergency admissions, because there's an awful lot going on in hospital that is non-COVID that you just can't take your eyes off as well. We need to be monitoring it all. So it gave us the flexibility to give a quick view of that information. And like you see there, that's a quote from one of our local authority areas. So they have access to the command centre as well. And it helps them to be able to pull patients through the system as opposed to that kind of pushing out, which has been great. One of the other elements around that, is just about talking about having command centres within different areas. So It has increased the audience of the command centre as well. So there's a lot of other departments that monitor this on a regular basis now as well. So we've got finance, workforce, infection control, this kind of information, and these screenshots that come directly at the command centre were also being shared with the Ministry of Defence on a daily basis. So lots of different people are very interested in this real-time information that's provided. So the impact so far, I'm not going to read all this out. I mean, this is just a bit of a summary as to the impact that the command centre and Qlik Sense has actually had within NHS Tayside. So it's that visibility of patient flow. You hear me talk a lot about pathways, and that's crucial for us. It has improved our volume of the bed blockers. It has improved the length of stay. It's allowed people to be much more aware of different parts of the system. It's created a really flexible response, and it's helped to make data integral to all of the conversations. And it is a major part of the daily managing of patient flow within the patient safety huddles, etc. It's also had a big impact on, so I lead, I'm Health and Business Intelligence lead within Tayside. I've got a whole team of information analysts that also work with our QlikView developers, and it's really changed the way that we work as well, and the information that we're being asked for, rather than just kind of churning out information for information's sake. It's about the information and how it tells a story, and what is the story that's behind that. Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to do that without the collaboration with Morecambe Bay and without Catalyst IT and third-party support within there. So where are we going? Realities this winter, yeah, it's looking pretty bleak. Unfortunately, winter is coming. But it comes every year, but not a kind of COVID winter. So previously, you would have the capability where you could board patients, you could have corridor waits, all these things. You can't do that. Coming into this winter, we can't have people that aren't in isolation if we don't know whether they've got COVID or not. I'm not going to really go into this too much, but why Qlik is crucial to all of this. So blah, 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 huge spiel in there. And this has come from our winter planning clinical MDT. So it's clinically led, but a crucial part in there is the command centre, which they recognise and which we're a part of. So we're right in the middle of all of these conversations now to see how we can help. So different areas and different elements. So again, we're kind of tweaking the command centre, creating different styles, different views, very basic information that's already available, but it's just really presenting it in different ways, helping them to have the really key information that they need to be able to give that data intelligence. The audience, as I've said, is huge now. The senior charge nurses are using this within their safety and flow huddles. We've got medical research students using this to be able to provide infection control with predictive data and really understand what's going on. Pathways key, so we're creating these streams rather than, you know, we do have, unfortunately, Scottish Government saying, well, you look like you've got empty beds. We're trying to help them understand and educate them that it's not that simple. This is a complex organisation. There are different types of beds, different pathways, and there are different demands. And the whole COVID element adds in a whole other layer of complexity in terms of side rooms, bays, so being able to have that configurable that you can then straight away click on a wee button that says side rooms and understand exactly how many occupied and empty side rooms you actually have is crucial. We're also very much monitoring as part of the remobilisation plans all of our green pathways as well. So we are still continuing to see patients. We see probably about 320 patients every week that are still coming through for surgery that are non-COVID. So there is an awful lot going on, and Qlik helps make that all visible. How much by when? Crucial question everybody keeps asking. So we're looking at triggers, escalation process. We're continuing to try to design and develop at pace, having a look at predictions over the next, I mean, every time I see kind of Rob's presentation, it makes me think, oh, I need to be doing more. There's more that we can be doing around this kind of thing, especially with some of the visuals. And it's also then thinking about beyond the hospitals, what the out of hours, the NHS 24, all of these things. Where can we start having triggers of this information? A lot of this information is publicly available, but how do we use it? And Qlik Sense is such an easy toolkit to be able to make all these things visible and to kind of get the correlation across the system. So it's So that's a kind of whistle-stop tour of what's happened and where we're at within NHS Tayside. I'll stop there.
Jenni, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Thanks so much.
George, on you go. I was just speaking for the to you.
No, that's okay. I was looking for my mute button there. So both Jenni and Rob, there was quite a few questions that came through. Have we got 3 or 4 minutes for questions just now?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So one, actually, we've got. I should name Barney as well. Barney's on the line. Barney and I have been having a little private chat. I know Barney from previous engagements, and well, I guess also because as today has shown that the analytics family is a very small family indeed. One of the questions I had was around data refreshes, and the fact that you have near real-time data must be so useful and so powerful, especially in a very quickly moving scene like yourselves. So Barney actually answered my question, but I just want to make sure it's out there for everybody, and that was that the system's updating every 90 minutes, sorry, every 90 seconds. So that is as real time as it gets, which is fantastic. Couple more questions. One of them is, Jenni, you were talking about charge nurses, etc. I hope I've got the terminology right. Using this for planning. I take it, are they using desktops or do they have these on mobile devices?
Within Tayside, just now, it's still desktops. We've unfortunately not managed to get it mobile as yet. A bit like Rob was saying earlier, things just take a wee bit longer in the NHS, which is quite frustrating and a bit difficult. It's nothing to do with Qlik Sense because the app's available and the dashboard could be mobile ASAP, but it's trying to get things through our eHealth colleagues. So we're still desktops just now. So as part of the command centre, we have a whole stream of desktops within there as well.
Right, okay. Thank you for that. There's a question here from David Lee as well. So on deploying these dashboards, have you been able to reduce delayed transfer of care? I think you may have answered some of that in your final slide, Jenni, which showed the impact. Yeah, how does this impact delayed transfer?
Yeah, it has reduced that. What we've managed to do now with the command centre is because the information is also visible to the local authorities, they have agreed a trigger process. So as soon as the volume gets to a certain amount, the conversations start and they start pulling the patients out earlier.
Okay, and overall then, are you seeing an improved or an impact on just general patient care, hitting your targets and quality of service?
Yeah,
I'll let Rob answer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think just picking up on the previous point as well. I think for us it's really exposed that healthcare delivery is really broad across multiple agencies. Yeah, I think as Jenni touched on, we're doing some work around looking at what happens outside of hospitals and being able to track live patient flow between primary care and nursing homes and step down facilities. And that's a really important part of that delays to the system. We've seen tangible drops in patients who have been cared for in an inappropriate location, and we've seen much quicker triage of patients when they enter an ED department. So within Morecambe Bay, we can definitely quantify it, and I think the same goes for Tayside with Jenni.
Good. Andrew, can I hand over to you to be a question master for a couple of minutes?
Okay, sure. Yeah, there's a couple of Qlik questions that have come in. Do you actually allow your analysts, Jenni, to do any build work, or is it only your core development team that actually build the dashboards?
It's just the core development team. Our analysts are very, very heavy users of the QlikView dashboards. We've actually got 23 QlikView dashboards that update minimum nightly, that provide us with all our information. But no, it's just the developers that do the developing.
Okay. Also got a question, are you using extensions in your dashboards, or is this all, I couldn't actually tell from the presentation, are you using Qlik Sense extensions?
Yeah, so we developed a custom extension for the Command Center app, which is that KPI object, okay, with a pop-up. So if I didn't really have time to sort of demo it properly, but yeah, so KPI objects for any item of information, and then you can click on it, bring up a list of patients with whatever or a chart, whatever you want to put into it. Yeah.
Okay. One question I'm keen on asking is, obviously this is great to see, and its all primary focus is on patient care and delivery of services. I know Joe's on the call, and obviously my thoughts are, if this was in North America especially, there'd be a big focus on the costs. Do you actually have plans to introduce anything like costs of care and drugs and nursing and ambulances? Because I know obviously that with COVID as well, there's obviously a crossover into the private healthcare sector. Or is it a general question?
Do you want me to go first? I think for yeah, it'll be fantastic to in terms of sort of identifying opportunities and efficiencies. I think within the healthcare system I work in, the patient level costing just isn't mature enough yet to be able to do that. So I think probably in the States, like a different system that probably makes that easier. I kind of bow to Joe's knowledge, but I think the way it's set up over there, one would think you'd have better access to costing information. But yeah, it should be there, shouldn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think up here it's actually even more difficult because it's not done so much costed on an individual patient basis within Scotland. But where we're trying to get to first, which is possibly a bit easier, is the workforce information and staffing absence, etc., and trying to kind of get that information across. But yeah, finance is a bit tricky.
Yeah, but in a way it's good it's hidden. You're focusing on the patient care and the delivery of the service rather than the raw money. I mean, we are lucky we've got a free to use, free at point of care health service here. You don't need to worry about costs when you're a patient.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are, there's obviously the concept of derived efficiencies from analytics in general. So I think, yeah, we do quite a bit of work on benefits realization. So we kind of look to attribute positives to the way care is delivered and patient outcomes, and we'll attribute a cost to that, so indirect benefits.
Okay, thank you for that. Yep.
Just one last really quick question from me. I think this may be more for you, Rob, around Data Robot. How did you find actually getting started with that as an AI platform? Were Data Robot there to help train your guys? I mean, you mentioned that they weren't born and bred data scientists. What was that experience like?
Really positive. I think I think that yeah. So I think that the team are fantastic. So we took an approach where we started off with sort of handheld by the Data Robot team, and they've got some really good sort of enablement staff and sort of customer focused, customer facing data scientists as well. So yeah, it's good actually, and we still collaborate. They join us every fortnight for our sort of Data Robots acceleration project team. So yeah, it's definitely been a collaboration. So I think sort of drawing parallels to Qlik, a similar experience of partnership working. So yeah, I definitely recommend them from that perspective.
Well, thank you both, Rob and Jenny. That's been fantastic. It's great to see all the work that's going on and how it's making a difference, how data is making a difference to everyday healthcare in the UK. Fantastic. I'll hand back to Brian now for the segue into the next session. But once again, Rob and Jenny, thank you. I'm sure we'll be in touch again.
Thanks,
Absolutely,
guys.
and it's fascinating to see two parallel but so different stories, and it's great. I think Andrew mentioned it's incredible. We should never take it for granted, the fact that we have a free national health service there, and some of the technology drive that's going on that you guys are doing is incredible. So thank you very much, especially in these times. Great stuff. Okay, so. So we beautifully negotiated our Q&A there. Thanks for that, Rob and Jenny. I suppose it's just for me to lead into our next guest, who's Josh Goods, VP of Product Marketing at Qlik. Sorry, Josh, I always get confused with the titles, and they probably end up wrong because they come from LinkedIn or email.
No,
so
you got it right.
If I'm way off base, but I know one thing that is true is that you're the top X demo maestro. So I don't know if we're going to get any top X stuff today, but we're really looking forward to sort of hearing about like the short-term roadmap and whatever else you've got for us today, Josh. So thanks very much for making time and coming along.
Yeah, my pleasure. And I'll flip my camera on. We'll see if the bandwidth cooperates. I think the kids have stopped watching Netflix, so they got to get ready for school.
Yeah. The struggle is real, Josh. The struggle is real.
Oh yeah. Actually, I got to share this for those of you with young kids. My 5-year-old held up a Paw Patrol doll and said, "What's his name again?" So I've officially exited Paw Patrol hell. So I'm very excited for people with young parents with young kids. You'll appreciate that. The rest of you, you don't need to know. So I do have a little slide deck, and then I thought I would do a little bit of a demo of things. I just want to check, how long do I have to natter on? Because I can go on for hours if you want me to, but it's 30 minutes, or we want to keep it to 20 minutes. Just let me know, and I'll make sure we have a good chunk of demo at the end.
Sorry, Josh, I lost my controls, but like you've got like 25, 30 minutes kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, we'll start with my favorite slide. Legal disclaimer just says I can say whatever I want. You can't hold me accountable for it. What I did want to talk a little bit is more of the longer term roadmap and where Qlik's going overall. And we probably started to hear about this thing, active intelligence. So we're really thinking much more about data and analytics than just visualization, dashboards, Qlik Sense, and what we're seeing with our customers is thinking about data at rest, data in motion, operationalizing and that monitoring, and then event triggering, all of that actually leads to actions. Because a lot of times we talk about getting to insight, like, hey, that's interesting. Oh, hey, someone should do something about that. Doesn't actually really do anything, right? So we're thinking a lot more about the whole value chain, and we're calling that active intelligence. And one thing that you'll hear a lot about this as we talk about it more and more, with Data Revolution Tour coming and so forth, and it's really that combination of bringing that data in rest, data in motion, and then triggering an action. And that could be an action that's a process automation action, or could be an action that an individual takes. So this can be as simple as like getting an alert on your phone something happens. I take I'll try to make up an NHS example. A bunch of new patients get admitted. They all have COVID, and therefore we know we need to order more COVID tests because we're doing a lot of COVID tests right now. And that actually generates a PO that someone approves. That's a real generating, something data driven, generating a real action, something like that. And then when we talk about our strategy, as we think moving forward about what are our guiding principles, these are our longer term guiding principles. So one is the SaaS principle. So we've really evolved and become a SaaS company now. That's where the market's going. That's where the world is going, and it is really cloud first. And it has a huge number of benefits of reducing total cost of ownership, maximizing long-term value, enabling you to stay up to date with the latest innovations, enabling us to innovate faster for you. So we're really thinking along those lines as we think about the long-term roadmap. At the same time, we think of a data principle, which is respecting data location. So while there are benefits to moving all the data to the cloud, there are real situations and real reasons why you don't want to, shouldn't, or it's not worth the effort to move data around. What we're thinking about that, and we know that the heterogeneous data situation will continue for quite a long time. And frankly, when everyone has supposedly moved to the cloud, in the midterm future, there's not one cloud. So we're still going to have a heterogeneous data situation regardless. So we're thinking about how that will work. Over time, we do think that minimizing on-premise footprints will be a benefit and will streamline what our customers need to do. But we need to be able to balance that going forward. And then the last one is customer principle. We were successful only because our customers are successful. So when we think about that, that customer success remains the heart of the strategy. And our existing customers, that brings up client managed really, like, oh, wait a second, I'm on Windows, I'm in client managed. So our technology strategy is very much around making sure that we help you protect that value and provide that freedom of choice to deliver the active intelligence vision while enabling you to continue with what you have and evolve at your pace. You need to evolve at. So hopefully that helps give sort of some overview vision of where we're going and what we're thinking about. So what I'll do is I'm going to go from that high level, really high level, just because people are always wondering what, where things directed is. I thought I'd jump right down into like recent highlights, because this is where we can get into a little bit of like what's cool stuff that's come out recently. And then I'll do a demo of a bunch of these things and try to save a fair bit of time for that and Q&A. So we have a new default theme. I'm like super excited about this because I hated our old default theme, and I would always go in and change the theme before I ever did a demo and things like that. And it's a much nicer looking theme. So sort of interesting. I'm probably more excited than I should be. We've done a whole bunch of enhancements to the Cloud Hub. We've increased data volumes in SaaS. We have Qlik Data Transfer as well to move the data where you need to. And then we've done a bunch of enhancements around augmented intelligence. And Insight Advisor Chat's probably the most exciting thing around there. So let me I'll just go quickly through and describe all these things, and then I'll show it to you. So Qlik Data Transfer is a lightweight utility to move data up into SaaS. You have three ways you can move data. You can do a simple data selection, which is it's a very familiar, select data interface that you're used to from Qlik Sense. You may notice we've borrowed a lot from what we can do with Qlik Sense Desktop there. So if you're curious about how we did it quickly, that's a hint. The original release of this, you could only do bundled ODBC connections and REST connections. And just with the release that came out Tuesday or Wednesday, we now can do DSN data source as well. So that means any ODBC connection that exists on your machine, you can go and do a select and select that data out. So that opens up a lot of different data sources and just a simple data selection. If you want to do something a little more complicated, you want to combine some data, you want to run some Qlik script before you move that data up. You can also do what I call here transform and combine, which really is Qlik Data Transfer reloads a QVF or a QVW, actually, for that matter. So a QlikView or a Qlik Sense file. And then we'll send the resulting tables from that data model up as QVDs, individual QVDs. So that's a great way to move data and to do your ETL on premises and then send it up to SaaS. And then the last one is folder watch, where you basically watch a folder, and anytime the files change in the folder, the CSV or Excel files, they'll get sent up as QVDs up into SaaS. The one thing that I get asked about is, what about incremental reloads? That is on the roadmap. If you're smart at scripting right now, you could design an incremental reload, but that would be, you'd be very I think it would be that case where, as developers, we're sort of proud of the script we wrote, and because of the complexity, versus it being really a, hey, hit the incremental reload checkbox button, which is what we're moving towards and thinking about. The other is capacity. So that's been a question up in SaaS quite a bit. So so standard apps have been increased to in September, I think it was. We increased standard apps to 5 gigabytes in memory. We will later this year, it says October, November, it's going to be November. We'll have expanded apps, which will enable you to have a few apps that are between 5 and 10 gigs in memory. And then we have dedicated capacity, which enables you to go up to greater than 10 gigs and actually go all the way up to 50 gigs in memory. And we see very few apps that large. So there's lots of options there. The nice thing here is if you stay below 5 gigs, you don't have to worry about capacity or anything like that. You don't have any limits on reloads. You don't have any limits on data storage. And actually, we don't even really limit you on what the in-memory size is during the reload. We do have some stuff going on in the background where we're monitoring that, but that's really not the customer's problem. That's Qlik's problem. So it's really, this can really reduce a lot of worries about how big your servers are and so forth. And the other thing I'll say is, if you haven't tried the SaaS product yet, I personally find it's much snappier than the Windows product, and that's because of the underlying technology. So just opening a sheet and stuff like that, it seems to be a little snappier. The other thing we've seen, and in September, the December 2020 release, we did an expansion of Insight Advisor, and it's now become the overall assistant in Qlik Sense. We added Insight Advisor Chat, which is a conversational analytics. So if you're familiar with Qlik Insight Bot, Insight Advisor Chat's the next generation of that. It's built directly into the code base. It's not an add-on. It's not something you need to put additional, additional servers or additional connections into. It just comes right in with the product, and that's included with SaaS, and it will show up in client managed in Windows in the November release, and it will still be an add-on on the Windows side. So you'll and if you have Qlik Insight Bot, you will automatically be entitled to Insight Advisor Chat. We've introduced business rules interface, which enables you to customize insights and suggestions, and you can put in vocabulary and things like that. So that makes Insight Advisor a whole lot smarter and a whole lot more customizable to your scenario. And then we've introduced some advanced analytics calculations. K-means clustering was the first one. We've done some engine work to make that available, and then we'll be able to release additional ones going forward. So Insight Advisor now looks like this. So you have Insight Advisor. A lot of us think of it as just that, the search box where you go to insights in when you're in a sheet. Now it covers a whole lot of things: associative insights, chat, search-based analysis, assistance, and then we see sort of a future capability of some sort of universal search. Don't worry, it will not be a paperclip that pops up at the bottom right of your screen, but it is a universal tool to go forward. For those of you who are thinking about Insight Bot and how's that going to look, because Insight Bot will be replaced by Insight Advisor Chat. So this is a timeline for how this is looking. So we introduced Insight Bot in 2019. In SaaS, we introduced Insight Advisor Chat in September. November, we'll introduce Insight Advisor Chat into client managed into Windows. And then after November, what will happen is our existing customers will have over a year to transition, and the thing here is you're going to go from needing to install and configure, et cetera, to you just need to install something that is post November 2020, and Insight Advisor Chat will appear as part. It'll be entitled automatically based on your licensing. The other thing that just came out on Wednesday was a new default theme. So in SaaS, you'll see a new default theme, and this will become the default theme in Windows in our as well. And this is what the theme looks like. You might recognize the color palette. It is much closer to Qlik's current branding. I just like it because it looks looks a lot more modern, and it's got these nice soft colors, and it's not, it doesn't look as dated as the original theme that we had when Qlik Sense was released. So may or may not be exciting to you. I'm excited about it, and it's my presentation, so I get to talk about it. And then the last thing that I'll talk about in terms of recent improvements is we've done some hubs improvements as well. So the collections capability is coming much more front and center. So it's been brought up to the top menu bar. Favorites is something that's going to more go away, and we're going to focus more on collections. We've also added chart monitoring, which I have shown before. One of the things that's really cool, or I think really shows the direction of where we're going when we're thinking about the hub, is Inside Advisor charts can now be monitored in the hub. So that means you don't actually need to create the chart yourself. If you see something in Inside Advisor and you say, hey, I want to monitor that, you can monitor it directly back into the hub. So it doesn't have to exist really in a sheet. And where, if you think that and sort of start to pull the thread on that, where we're going is the app, well, still is very central, and then the data model will become very central in the back end. For the user, the first place they go for analytics will not be, you need to go to the hub, so you can go to an app so you can actually get insights. The hub will become much more centralized to where users start and actually start getting insights in the hub. And then we also have a data space in the hub as well, where you can manage and monitor the various data sources that you have. That is the precursor to having a more robust data catalog as well, that's fully integrated into the hub. So that's expected to come out early next year. We'll start to see more development on that. It will not be, exactly Qlik data catalog completely ported over into SaaS on the first release, of course, but over time we will incorporate more and more capabilities there. So I got a bit of a demo, but I've been seeing questions pop up. Do we want to hit a few questions first, or do we want to go straight to the demo? Someone speak up and vote.
I think Josh, I think we go for the demo, make sure we get the demos in there, and then we'll hit the questions with the time that we have left at the end.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so here I am in the hub, and so this is a SaaS hub here. You can see I have a nice setup in the front, and one thing to notice right away is I have these charts. So these are the charts that are monitored. I can view that chart, and I can jump into an app from any of those charts at any time. I also get a history. This is a demo app. I haven't reloaded it, but I get a history of the charts as well. So that's a really, really nice thing to get me going right away. The other is Inside Advisor right here. So there's Ask Inside Advisor, and I can just click on this, and I can then go and do that. Now, you might ask, well, how am I going to find all of these new things as they're released and so forth? We've also added down here a new Connect and Learn panel, and it will highlight what's new. So I can see what came out in the October release. In the September release, I think it was, we did a video because it was a major release. You can watch a video straight in here. And then also in the Connect and Learn area, we've added links to demos, links to webinars, and links to the learning portal. And we'll add more on this as well. This capability that we brought in is the foundational capability to have more guided experiences as well throughout the product. So, we can envision an arrow pointing to something saying, hey, you probably want to check this out, and then you might do that. So with Inside Advisor Chat, I come in here and I can say, sales amount by country, and I type that in. It looked across all my apps and then said, hey, I can answer this question with one of two apps. Which one would you like to use? I'll pick the sales analysis app. And then it will go out and it will now generate charts on the fly for me. And also give me natural language back. And of course, it's a demo, so it always takes like 5 times longer than I expect it to take. There we go. And 5 times longer than when I tried it. So I get this this chart back that shows me sales by country, and I get some natural language generation as well. I can also ask questions that are still in context. in here. So I can say last year, and it will understand that context and then give me what I was looking at for last year as well. And I can see what it understood from there. I can change the context a little bit. I can say sales amount for Germany last quarter, and it will pick all of that up and will return that for me as well. And then I can say, hey, I'd like to explore this further. And when I click, I would like to explore this further, it opens up the app that I was looking at, opens Insight Advisor, Visual Insights, puts the question in for me automatically, and then returns the same answer I was seeing before, which was that answer of 100.03 million was my sales amount for Germany for last quarter. And then I can say, not for frozen foods. Oops, gotta spell it right. And it will continue to understand all of that as you've seen before. So it's a really nice LinkedIn experience that you get there. If I have something I want to monitor, then I can do the chart monitoring in the hub. That will put that into my hub. You also can see, and I think you were all aware of this, that it's actually down here, applied set analysis. It's telling me what it's applied. And if I look at the details here of sales amount, I can add a new master item, and it actually is applying set analysis. So I actually am like forgotten how to do curly brackets because I've been using this so much now almost. And that's how it's a much faster way for particularly newer users to get set analysis expressions written and even making them master items. Shifting gears a little bit here, I'll show you Qlik Data Transfer. So this is Qlik Data Transfer. I have data connections I can set up. I can see I have all the various data connections, and the one that just recently got added was ODBC, which then brings me into my system DSNs and my user DSNs. So I can connect to whatever ODBC connectors I have on my machine. I can do a simple data connection here. I can reload Qlik apps. And one thing I don't know if I mentioned before is when I do a reload, I not only tell it to reload on a schedule, but I also can say once the data arrives, reload a particular app up in SAS as well. And the same applies for folders as well. So here I have a data folder that I'm watching, which is this folder right here. This sales targets are written down there. And these sales targets are appearing. Oops, I got my the other way. There we go. Oh, of course, it's timed out. These sales targets are appearing right here. And you can see I was practicing while I was waiting here. So if I change the sales targets, I'll just go in here and change Germany. They were sandbagging. Change that to a 6. I will save that. Now that's going to be picked up by Qlik Data Transfer, and it's going to be sent up to my data space here. And in a moment, you will see it'll pop up and say this app's been reloaded. And actually, I can just go over to the app, and we will see the time change here on the last reload, and we'll see this jump up to there. And that's all automated. I'm not doing anything. It does take a moment or two, which seems like an eternity when you're doing a demo, but it does do it in less than a minute or so to have all of that happen with the monitoring. It's the part where it's supposed to change, and I finish my sentence, and of course it hasn't. There we go. So there we go, and you can see, I don't know why it says UTC. This is my local time here, Pacific time. Actually, if anyone knows how to get rid of that, I haven't figured it out, so you can be my little hero for that. But you can see here, it's changed it automatically using Qlik Data Transfer. So that's pretty cool stuff. And then the other thing you'll notice, I'm using the new default theme, which I mentioned before, and that's called Sense Horizon here. That's the classic, and this is Horizon, and that'll just be the default going forward. So at 24 before after. I'll stop there. I have more I could show you, but I can see there's a pile of questions. So I was gonna just take a look and see, or if someone's been monitoring and wants to shout them out, then that would be good.
Thanks for that, Josh. Yeah, there's a question for me exactly the same time as Barney posted the same question there about, again, it's a general question, but specifically for Connect and Learn, will that ever surface on Qlik Sense Enterprise and Windows?
No, it's a SaaS service.
It will always be SaaS only, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is like the way it's done is through a SaaS service, and we'd have to punch holes in firewalls and things like that in order to be able to do that and change the hub and so forth. So it's not likely to appear there.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a general comment from me as well as we get this feedback from some of our customers is they don't understand which features are SaaS only and which ones are available on client managed. It would really be nice if there was more visibility of the key differences. I don't know how you address that. But.
Yeah, it's a challenge because it's a constant it's a constant moving target on how what that's going. What we have done now is we've tried to be clearer with our release announcements. Is what you'll see in our release announcements is we'll say these are all the new features, and we'll talk about SaaS first because that's where the majority of the innovation is happening these days. And then at the bottom of the release announcement, we'll say the following are appearing in Windows. So that makes it clear on new things. When it gets to like the comparison of like, well, what's here, what's there, very specifically, the moving target makes it, any documentation that I would produce will be out of date immediately. So we don't have a good answer for that. I hear you. If you have, I'd love to, if people have ideas, I'd love to hear it. But we are hesitant to put out a documentation because often it also would get very technical on certain things, and that would also be confusing as well. So it's yeah. I'll stop there.
Okay, thanks. There was a few good points, feedback on data transfer. I think Brian made one as well. VPN tunnels.
Yeah, Josh, just to sort of chip in there, I think when you talk about transitioning like the enterprise crowd into the SaaS crowd, I think these are the things that are super important, and that the amount of time that we spend, as you say, like punching holes in firewalls earlier, that's exactly what that situation is when you're dealing with SaaS and SaaS and on-prem. So I think that's a major step forward to have that kind of tunneling experience where a user doesn't have to worry about the how it happens, it just happens. That's a commendation from my point of view. That's a massive step forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. One word of caution, you mentioned like with enterprises and stuff, Qlik Data Transfer is a lightweight data movement tool. It is not a robust enterprise data movement tool. So, if it's a large enterprise with thousands of users moving data, then, we want to look at the data integration solutions. When it's a department, data transfer is really, really good way to go. So it's one of the options. It opens up another option. I just don't want to have, sometimes we get a new shiny tool and we try to use it for everything.
I guess my other burning question, Josh, is what's next? What's coming in the new year? Obviously, November release is coming up, and then we'll all be thinking of February.
Yeah, so we got a few cool things. We'll see alerting appear. Did I jump over this? Yeah, this slide here gives you some of the things. So alerting is going to appear in the November release in SaaS. Then we expect a new mobile client for SaaS, which will also combine with the alerting app, as well as the, I would call it, introduction of data catalog into SaaS. And then reporting and enterprise reporting and self-service will come later in that year. We'll continue to enhance AI, of course. We will continue to look at things to move more and more towards the active intelligence vision, and then as well, I mean, there's a whole, we'll continue to chart improvements and those sort of things. But these are the big sort of the bigger ticket items right now. And there was a question about alerting. Alerting will be included in SaaS. So with SaaS, with SaaS, we're taking that more modern approach of, let's focus on making everyone successful. Let's give them all the tools they need. Whereas with on-prem, it's a little more, you buy things piecemeal a little bit more is the way that's typically done. Looking at, I don't see any other. I think we've addressed all the questions.
Yeah, George, Andrew, anything else, guys?
No, I don't think there's been anything yet. I think people are just so fascinated.
I'm just loving the new theme. I think the Horizon theme hits the mark. It does give it a nice, fresh look.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who's so excited about something as simple as we change the colors.
Yeah. I find myself using Breeze a lot more recently, so this is another one to adapt to. Yeah.
Well, yeah. When I would do build demos, I would go in, change it to Breeze, and then be like, "I've already started an app here," so now I don't have to do that, which is kind of nice.
No, that's all good. And Josh, as always, we really appreciate your time here, and thanks for making the time to come along. It's always good to get an insight about what's coming, and some of those features are really, really valuable for us. I think it's always fascinating to understand the way that Qlik is evolving as you rightly pointed out there, as a SaaS organization rather than an on-prem one moving forward. So we continue to look to people like you for communication on that front about where those blurred lines are. So this is always valuable.
Yeah, it's interesting. The SaaS thing enables us to release faster, release more, and update things. I see Leslie just threw a question: is the new theme only available on SaaS? Yes, it is right now, because there hasn't been a release into the Windows product, and it won't happen until November. In November, we will get the new theme, but you can get something faster and quicker. And we actually might even do updates to the theme between now and then, and we can just push them into SaaS. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time. I know we're up against the clock right now.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, thanks very much, Josh. A pleasure as always. Thank you for coming along. Okay, I think we're just going to get just a last few things to cover here. Just some admin at the end. So again, thanks to Josh there. If it seems like you're seeing our beautiful inverted commas faces a little bit less often, that's because we are now running every 3 weeks with QVMS to kind of mirror people's changing schedules with the pandemic. But we have lined up episode 13. Episode 13 will be coming on Friday the 6th of November, probably not BST by then, so it'll be 3 p.m. though, whichever British time zone we're on by that point, we'll work it out. And again, it's not 3 for the price of 2. In fact, it's 1 for the price of 2 at the moment next time around, because we have Jeff Goldberg confirmed who's a senior product manager in Qlik, and is going to talk to us in a bit more detail about APIs and integration. So Jeff's been involved in that in a long time, so we're really looking to see how the back end of Qlik is syncing up with all the great improvements that we're seeing on the front end as well. And our second guest is a big TBC, but you know us by now. They're bound to be good. But at the moment, it's just a great bunch of question marks. So we will sort it all out for you. Don't worry, and we will communicate that over LinkedIn and associated platforms. I would say to register at QVMS EP13, but I may not have that link live yet as of right now this second. So that will be live in about 5 minutes after the call. But I think, and you can contribute to QVMS opinions if you have any thoughts on the way that we're doing things or not. We really appreciate your feedback. But apart from that, it's really just for me to say to stop sharing and to say thank you to everyone that's come along for today. Andrew, I'll pass it over to you for a few secs.
Yep, just repeat that. Thanks to everyone. Got good attendance again today. Interesting to see how the NHS are using Qlik in their command centre as well. Thanks to Rob and Jenny, and obviously thanks again to Josh. It's always good to see what's coming and what the latest Qlik Sense offerings look like.
The last word for me, fantastic. Thank you. Just thanks to everybody that attended, especially to our speakers, Josh, Jenny and Rob. Fantastic session. Really enjoyed it end to end. Thank you.
Super. Thank you everyone, guys. We can't do this without you coming along to watch us. So thanks for giving us a part of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, and we will see you in 3 weeks' time. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
No worries. I'm going to hit stop now, guys. Okay.
Hi, Brian. I'll just say bye. A quick bye. John here.
Oh, hey, John. I spotted your name up there.
Yeah. Hey, it's Friday. I'm still working, but
you're still working. You're still working. You're just
two laptops. Like one ear sort of listening to you, and one trying to do something. You know, as ever. But no, it's good to see.
I know how it goes, John.
Yeah.
Where are you doing something?
I was still at HSBC.